Quick question. Would you rather $500 today or $1,000 in a year's time? Well, most people would have said $500 today, and that's the wild part. The problem isn't a mathematical problem, it's a psychological one. Doubling your money in a year's time sounds like a good idea, but our brains aren't wired objectively. They're wired for now. And today we're going to break down why a lot of people, a lot of smart people, make poor financial decisions because of the psychological aspect of money. Let's get into it. We like to think of money as a rational, measurable thing. Dollars and cents, numbers on a screen. But behavioral economists have spent the last 50 years basically proving that's a myth. Now, here's the core idea. Humans don't evaluate money based on absolute terms. They base it off a floating reference point. Usually where we started, our past experiences, or what we expect. For example, a $20 discount on a $30 item feels like a huge discount. But the same $20 discount on a $2,000 laptop, it doesn't quite have the same feeling. But this actually has a name. It's called the relativity trap. And it's the same reason the $5 coffee doesn't feel as big as a purchase as the $5 processing fee. Most money decisions are actually made by a gut feeling and then later enforced with a calculator or a spreadsheet. Now here's the big one. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky found something remarkable. Losing $100 hurts twice as much as the same feeling of gaining $100. And this is called loss aversion. And it explains pretty much everything that's weird and wonderful about how we handle money. Now, one company, which you probably have heard of, Temu, and with 530 million monthly users you more than likely have, has figured out this. And it's using what the psychologists have dubbed the $100 loss and $100 gain into their slogan, shop like a billionaire. Now, what it's actually doing is it's cutting out the middleman to keep costs low and buying straight from the factory that's producing. But because of that, the prices are extremely low, giving the psychology of shopping like a billionaire, like money isn't quite such a thing that matters. However, it goes a little bit deeper than that. Your brain isn't trying to make you rich. It's not trying to get you the next step or build you up in some kind of way. It's actually deeper than that. It's one of our human connections to keep us safe, to avoid loss, to keep that next meal coming, to keep shelter. The human brain has figured out it's a lot better to maintain what you have than gaining extra. We're running ancient software in a modern financial system. But here's the thing. Money is fungible. A dollar is a dollar. But we put mental brakes and mental chains on what money actually is. For example, a paycheck that comes in. That's serious money. You've traded your time. You've traded your labor for that money. Something like a tax refund. Well, you weren't counting on it, and it's just come in. A lump sum of money given to you all at once, and it wasn't accounted for. There was no preparation, there was no thought pattern behind it. It just one day appears. The University of Waterloo discovered a phenomenon called LDW. Basically, loss designed as a win. And how that works is that's money on a page. Most gamblers experience LWD. It's also called gambler's fallacy. It's basically because the money on your screen is changing at such a rapid pace and going up and down, you don't actually have time to be able to understand what is actually happening and what value you are now standing at. And what it basically does is unlock rapid fire dopamine hits. And that's it. Same currency. The same purchasing power, but totally different treatment. And it's all because of the story of how it came to us. But here's the thing most personal finance concepts don't quite get. Money isn't the value. It's your relationship with money, how it's come about, the story that you hold, what value it actually brings to you. If you grew up watching your parents struggle with money or fight over money, it actually puts a bit of a default setting on how you perceive money. And what ends up happening is even when you're financially secure, it's not about the asset accumulation. It's about your psychology on how you perceive that money. If it's caused a lot of stress and a lot of angst in your childhood, then it will carry over, if you're not careful, into your adult life. And if money was a tool that was used to measure love or was never really discussed, that also carries over. And it is often without you noticing. The most useful question that we can ask ourselves with finances isn't always, what should I do with my money? It's sometimes something way more specific on, why does this make me anxious? How does this actually make me feel? What is the gut feeling behind what I'm looking at? And why am I trying to understand and evaluate this purchase? And that's hard, because that answer can't be found on a spreadsheet, can't be found on a calculator, and can't be found on a bank app. So you've made it this far and we've figured out the basic psychology behind money. But what do we actually do with that? What do we do now? So there's a few things. Start with a few basic fundamental reference points. A $200 jacket looks different next to a $200 grocery bill. Ask yourself, does this jacket bring the same value? Start to separate your money into different accounts. Don't let all of your paycheck come into one account and all expenses come out of one account. It's really hard to track the money when it's all just in one big lump sum. At the end of the day, money is one of the few areas in life where being smart just isn't enough. You have to understand why you're making these decisions, what's driving you to answer these questions. And it's actually probably a good time to go back to the start of this video when I asked you, would you rather $500 now or $1,000 in a year's time? What made you answer that question? How did you answer that question? And when you answer that question, what was the first thing you thought of? Is that going to be rent this week? Is it going to be a new toy that I can play with? Or is that $1,000 in a year's time going to go towards something bigger, something better? Thanks for watching. That's been The Money Psychology, my personal insights into what money means to us and what money is around us. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for more.